everyone, welcome or welcome back to my channel. I'm Misha. I live with a mobility disability and every day I'm learning new ways to care for my body, heal my mind and live life on my own terms. So if you're new to this channel, welcome. Please consider subscribing, like and leave me a comment on the video. So in today's video, I'm going to share with you my diagnosis story. Some of you might have watched my videos and you've seen that I have some struggles when I'm moving about with my health. I do walk with a walking stick, so I just wanted to give you the backstory of what's going on with my health. So this is my diagnosis story. So I want to share with you my diagnosis story of how I contracted COVID in 2020, how it has changed my life completely and how I'm living with long COVID ever since. So before 2020, I was full of life, I was energetic, I was working in healthcare full time, I went back to uni, taking care of my family, I set up a business, was ready to go. My health wasn't perfect, but it wasn't something I thought about much, you know. I rarely went to the doctors unless like it's during the winter time and I caught like a chest infection or something like that, but I very rarely went to the doctor. I would have considered myself quite fit and healthy. And then came the pandemic, and like many of us, you know, I was scared. It was a lot of uncertainty. I didn't know what was going to happen. March 2020, I caught COVID. I didn't realise I caught it because during that time there wasn't any testing or anything like that. So it was very unknown. Like doctors weren't sure what was going on. The hospitals were full. Like it was manic, you know. When I caught COVID, at first I didn't realise that I did caught it. I just know I felt really unwell. I just felt so exhausted. I was just tired all the time. I started feeling that really heavy, like in the mornings I was struggling to get up. I was struggling to like, you know, even drive was just really stressful. It just didn't feel normal. But I thought, you know, maybe I'm coming down with a cold or, you know. And then as things progressed, I realised that I started coughing, and that cough went on for a while. I still didn't think that I had COVID. And I was on the phone to one of my cousins in Jamaica, and she was like, "You're coughing a lot, and I don't like how this cough sounds." You know, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go to the doctors tomorrow. And she's like, no. But also, I was struggling to speak, but I didn't realize how bad that was either, you know. And my cousin's like, now something is not right. So she then contacted my brother, who's in the UK, and she's like, you need to check in on your sister. Something is not right. I don't think she's well. But me being the kind of person I am, I'm just like a tough cookie. I just power through whatever is going on, you know. And I like to take a lot of herbal remedies and natural treatments and stuff. So I thought, okay, I'm going to drink some lemon and ginger and that kind of stuff, and that will shift things. But things progressively got worse, and before you know it, I was struggling to breathe. I could barely talk. I was in crisis mode actually, and I remember phoning the ambulance. They came out, they assessed me, and I was told, like, yeah, we suspect that you have COVID. They didn't have like the test kits like that they had, you know, afterwards. But based on, you know, check my temperature and everything else, and the way my body was responding, told them that, yeah, I did have COVID. One of the paramedics told me, right, I can take you into the hospital, but right now the hospitals are full, the corridors are full, ambulances are parked up outside in lines with patients inside of the ambulance. So he's like, I can take you in, or you can wait until Monday. It was early Sunday morning because the symptoms was getting really bad Saturday. So it was Sunday morning, and he was like, you could wait and then contact your GP and ask your GP for antibiotics. Or if you want, I can take you into the hospital. I decided I'm not going to go. I'm going to stay home. I'm going to risk it and stay home. And I remember just staying home and just praying and just trusting God, like, Lord, please help me, please heal me. You know, I felt so unwell. I literally felt like I was dying. Like, because it got to a point where I wasn't even speaking anymore. My temperature was rising, and then we'd managed to get through to Monday. So first thing Monday morning, the GP was contacted, explained what was going on, explained what the paramedics had said, and then I was prescribed antibiotics. One of my friends picked it up, brought it to the house, took it, and I promise you, within hours, my symptoms started to improve a bit. I just stayed home, rested, but it was rough. Man, I felt like a ton of bricks fell on top of me, After a couple of weeks, my symptoms started improving. I thought, yeah, okay, it's past. I'm going to feel better. I'm going to just get back to normality. That's what I thought. But after weeks in, something didn't feel right. I just didn't feel my normal self. I was struggling to walk. Like, I was tired all the time. I couldn't stay up for long. I couldn't talk for long. I wanted to sleep all the time. I was losing my focus. I was losing my words mid-sentence. I was stuttering, which has never happened before. And I was just exhausted and tired all the time. I was gaining weight like rapidly. And that made things like 10 times harder. So the fatigue wasn't just tiredness, it was deep exhaustion. Like, I could sleep for hours on end, and I felt like I haven't slept. I would still be so tired after sleeping all day. I didn't really get out of bed much. I was at risk of falling. I nearly fall down the stairs several times. I nearly fallen, bashed my head. I've fallen coming out of the bath. I've fallen in the bath. Like, it was crazy. But then it got to a point where I got so weak that it was just the safest thing for me to stay in bed. And, thank goodness I have got good family, good friends who really looked after me. After a while, after a good 8 months or so, near to the end of the year, I thought, okay, I'm going to go back to work. I think I'm strong enough. I think I can, I think I feel well enough. Because by then I was moving around a bit more. But I didn't realise how, like, when I'm at home, it's okay because I'm moving from A to B, but it was completely different going outside. So I went back to work, and I quickly realised that, I can't really do what I used to do. And then I became worse off, and I had to be home again. So I was home for almost another year, and it was frustrating because I'm somebody that, I don't sit still. I'm somebody that likes to just get up and go and do things, and I'm not one that just sits still, I'm just not that kind of person. I've learned to become that. I've adjusted to that now, but yeah, it was incredibly frustrating. Like, I went through so many different emotions. I went through anger, I went through just grief. I was just going through just feeling sorry for myself and just like questioning God, like, why, but yeah, that happened, and I went back to work again, and I thought, yeah, this time, I think I'm well enough. And again, I realised I'm struggling to concentrate. I can't get a sentence out. I'm feeling exhausted. I just need to lay down. I'm in a lot of pain because there was some pain that went through my body. I've got 2 kids. Labour pain is nothing compared to that pain. It just goes through your bones. And then eventually, I just had to speak to my director, and I just told him I don't think I can carry on anymore. I just don't feel well. And he was like, I think this is like the 3rd time over a couple of years, and he was like, maybe you should just like take some time off first and see how you feel, instead of quitting completely. So I thought, okay, let me take a month off. And in the UK, like, when you're off sick, you request a sick note from your GP, your general practitioner, or your doctor, depending on where you are in the world. So I requested that, and I sent it into my work, and I thought, okay, by the next month, hopefully, I'll start feeling better. Still wasn't feeling better, still was in bed. Some days I could get out of bed, like, I struggled to get out of bed. After 3 months, my GP contacted me, and he was like, oh, I've noticed you've been requesting for sick notes for quite some time now, and every time it's saying the symptoms that is listed is linked to COVID. And I said, yeah, and bear in mind, like, I'm not bashing doctors or anything, but I didn't have a lot of support because they didn't know what was going on and how to treat it either, So So I felt like I was like left on my own to deal with this situation. But this doctor, when he called me, he's the doctor that deals with long COVID patients. Again, at the time, I wasn't sure, about long COVID. But no doctor's ever said anything to me about long COVID. But this doctor, he was the one that deals with long COVID patients, and he said, I don't understand why I have not seen you yet. And I said, I didn't even know the surgery had a long COVID doctor. When he spoke to me and he asked me like what's going on, and I explained in detail everything that started from 2020, because what happened is in 2020 it happened, but it didn't hit me like that in one go. Over time it progressively got worse. The fatigue got worse, the chronic pain got worse. Like the pain would be so painful, from my head to my toes would hurt. I was sensitive to noise, I wasn't eating much, but I was gaining a lot of weight. It was just a lot, everything was intensified. So I explained to him what was happening, and he said to me, I think you've got something called long COVID. And then he explained to me what that was, and I'm telling you guys, I wept. I was crying uncontrollably, because for the first time somebody's actually acknowledging what is happening to me. I was just like very emotional, I was crying, and he was like, yeah, and then he said something to me. He said, you have to grieve your old life. And I thought, what is this man talking about? And then when he broke it down, he's like, yeah, your life has changed now. And oh gosh, anyway, I'm not gonna cry. I promised myself I was not gonna cry through this. He just explained to me that your life has now changed and there's a new normal, and the life that you had once may not be the same. And I thought, what are you talking about? But when he broke it down, I understood it. I was really emotional, and I'm thinking, am I never going to walk again? Am I never going to be able to speak properly? Because also I suffered from breathlessness, so to speak was an issue. So that's how I was talking, and I was mid-sentence I would just forget what I'm talking about. I would stutter a lot, and that was so embarrassing for me, because I've never stuttered before, I never had it before, and communicating with people was really difficult sometimes. Like my family, sometimes I'd be doing sign languages and pointing at stuff because I just couldn't get the words out, or it wouldn't come to me. My GP was brilliant because he helped me to get all the services that I needed. He quickly realised that I was at risk of falling, and so he made sure that all the services that I needed to have, I got them. My home had to be adapted. I have to have rails like at the front of the house, at the back when I'm going into the garden, in the shower had to be adapted, just to meet my needs really, and to really prevent the risk of falling as much as possible. Also, I have a wheelchair, although I do use my wheelchair, but I don't use it as often. One of the reasons why is I do use it, like if I'm going far and I know I'm going to be on my feet for a long time, then I know for sure I have to use it. Sometimes when I'm going to the hospital for appointments, I'll use the wheelchair so I don't have to stand too long and stuff like that. But I also want to push myself, do you know what I mean? I don't want to just be wheelchair bound. I still want to be able to walk normally again. And I have to give thanks to God. God has been so faithful. Each day my health is improving more and more. My body's getting stronger. I'm learning to walk more and more. You can see in some of my videos, I've taken some risk. I've gone to a few places by myself. And a lot of times when I go out, I need somebody with me because, things can go wrong really quick. I do use a walking stick, and I tend to use it a lot more. Although sometimes I'm very slow when I'm walking, but for me it's just one step at a time, one foot in front of the other, and there's no rush. As long as I'm doing it, that's the main thing. So I try to go for walks when I feel well enough, because I have to assess myself. I don't just get up and go like that, because I know that can be quite dangerous at times. So yeah, I try as much as possible. I do things at home to help myself. I have a rebounder. It's like a mini trampoline that I use, and when I'm well enough, I use that to bounce on it, which helps with lymphatic drainage. I've got what do you call them, weights or dumbbells, and when I'm sitting down I use them, just to keep my muscles going and strengthen my muscles. So there's things that I'm doing at home to help my healing process. I do like a lot of fasting. I do like intermittent fasting. Sometimes I do like a 24-hour fast. Fasting is one of the things that's really helping me, along with cayenne pepper, also along with movement, within reason. Because sometimes I wake up one day and I feel like, oh wow, I feel amazing today. And I love to cook. What is one of my joys is cooking. I love to cook. I also have a cooking channel, Herbs and Spice Kitchen, if you want to check it out. But yeah, cooking is one of my greatest passions, and I love to cook for my family. I love to cook for my friends. I love to do a big spread, and I love to have loads of different, all of the shebang. I love it. So when I have a good day, when I'm feeling well, I'm like, okay, today I'm gonna make some curry goat, some rice and peas, some salad. I'm gonna make some soup. I'm gonna make some juices. Like, I want to go all out for my family, and yeah, a lot of times I find that is a bit too much, and sometimes I start it and I can't finish it, but yeah, I'm learning to take little steps day by day, and on the days when I'm feeling amazing, like I've got a lot of energy and I can do a lot, I still have to contain myself, because what happens is, if I overdo it, then I end up in a lot of pain, I end up being more fatigued, and then I can be in bed for weeks, and I don't want that. So, thank goodness for the people around me who are so patient because sometimes it's not easy for somebody who is always who likes to be on the go and likes to be doing something. It's really hard. So yeah, sometimes they're like, no, you're not doing that, take it easy, or we'll do that, we'll handle that. But yeah, God has been good, and God has been healing me, and I'm just trusting the process. And I just want to encourage anybody else who's going through any illness or having any issues with their health, that there's light at the end of the tunnel. You just have to trust God, keep praying every day, keep your spirits up. That's something that I did as well. Another thing I did was I knew how important it was to keep your mind healthy, because there's stories of people who's been through what I'm going through, and they really end up having issues with their mental health. And for me, I knew that I had to take care of my mental health, so I used to listen to a lot of worship music. Like, my family know that, especially on the days when I'm really struggling and I'm feeling a lot of pain and I'm feeling fatigued and just feeling unwell, I listen to a lot of worship music, or I used to put on the audio Bible, and then when I felt strong enough, I would go out into the garden and just sit in the garden for a little bit. Even in winter, I put on my hat, my gloves, my scarf, my jacket, everything. A cup of tea. And I'll be out in the garden, just getting fresh air and being out in nature. Do you know what I mean? Also, I read a lot when I could read, and I was reading a lot of health books, because for me, I love to research. I spent so much time in bed, and I thought, okay, you know what, I can't get up and walk about right now, but I can use my fingers and I can use my brain. So I was doing a lot of reading a lot of health books, learning about herbs and stuff like that. Hence the name Herbs and Spices. I love herbs, and I used to take a lot of herbs, not that kind of herb, not the green stuff, not the sensimilla, you understand? Not that herb. But just natural remedies. I used to take a lot of those, and I love to cook with herbs as well. So oregano, fresh thyme, garlic, ginger, Scotch bonnet pepper, parsley, coriander, name it. I love herbs, and I love spices. Like I've got so many spices, got so many herbs, like it's crazy. I've got like 3 different areas that I store them in. That's how much I have. So, you know, I was reading a lot of health books and stuff, and just like listening to podcasts that would, you know, lift my spirit, you know. So when I realised that I couldn't stand for long hours to cook, I do have a chair that I use. So when I'm cooking or washing dishes, when I can, I have a chair that I sit in. When I'm bathing, in terms of personal hygiene, I have like a bath board. So you put it across the bath and you sit on it when you're having your shower and stuff like that. And when I'm like brushing my teeth, washing my face, I have a chair, a special kind of chair that is suited for somebody with mobility issues to sit on when I'm washing my face, brushing my teeth. And in my living room, I have a special chair also that is well cushioned. It's electric, so I can use it to recline. It can stretch out almost like into a bed. So if I'm feeling really exhausted and I can't make it back to the actual bed, then I can stretch the chair out almost like into a bed, and I can just rest and relax. Also, if I'm struggling to stand, I can raise it up a bit higher, and it helps me to stand a bit easier. Also, if I'm just sitting down, I can elevate my legs. So there's a bit that comes up, and it helps me just to elevate my legs. So yeah, those are the tools that I use at the moment. I use a CPAP machine when I'm sleeping, because I also developed sleep apnea, and I have to use a CPAP machine. Yeah, so that's my diagnosis story. That's how I caught COVID, and I'm living with long COVID ever since. I hope this video encourages you. I hope it inspires you. If you're dealing with any health conditions, just to keep going, keep trying, don't give up. There's hope. Just believe there's hope and just keep going, because for me, there's times when I just wanted to give up, and I thought, I can't do this anymore. I genuinely felt like that, but you know, I have to tell myself, and I have to talk to myself and tell myself, don't give up, keep going, keep trying. Little wins every day, little wins, and it doesn't matter how small it is. If you're able to brush your teeth, that's a big win. If you're able to eat, that's a win. You know, if you're able to just step outside, that's a win. I had times when the only thing I could do was to sit up and look through the window and see outside, and that was a win, because there was days when I couldn't even sit up, you know. So just be encouraged, keep going, keep pushing, and you will get there one day at a time. So I want to say a big thank you for watching this video. Thank you for supporting my channel. Thank you for subscribing. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing and follow me on this journey, and I will see you in my next video.